Hello, everybody. Welcome to Free Talk Friday. Today on The Climb. Climb is brought to you by the Digital Mastermind. Digital Mastermind is a podcast, or the Digital Mastermind is a group where we talk to agencies, marketing, technology. Some of the best agencies in the country are a part of this collective. So if you want tips, tricks, the tools, you want the mentorship, the peer group that you can lean on with bi-weekly calls. We have this gnarly yearly meetup. If this is what you want and also stay in communication with the Slack group, please go ahead and shoot me an email, john@digitalmastermind.com. Check out the website, digitalmastermind.com, and we'd love to collaborate with you. So today is Free Talk Friday, meaning we get to talk about whatever the hell we want. It's our podcast. So today I'm going to go ahead and bring out my my co-host, good friend, David McGraw. David, good to see you, buddy.
How's it going?
It's better now that you're here.
Excellent.
So, I mean, there's a ton of different things we can talk about. We have the goings on about what's in our agency life. We have, some things that are going on in the economy, of course. I mean, one thing that keeps hovering around, though, is how I'm noticing these small things that are getting better. And
right.
The numbers that you had the other day, the job market, I know that's looking better. I spoke with one of our few clients in hospitality yesterday, and he said restaurant business with his restaurants is getting better as well. So I see a lot of positive activity that's happening despite a lot of the friction that we're still having in our country based on masks and regulations and COVID numbers and whatnot.
So last week I went out to a restaurant Sunday night with my family, and the restaurant was socially distanced. Tables were spread apart. The waitresses all were wearing masks, and everybody walking through in and out was wearing masks. And they had a live band, and I tell you, I was like, we're back. Everyone had a great time. Everyone was smiling. There was, I walked away.
Like 60% though?
What's that?
Would you say it was like at capacity for the amount that they could have based on regulations?
It was packed out. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like based on their capacity,
correct.
Based on regulations.
So okay. This place was unique that they were able to, because it has like a little sand pit for kids. It has like this other little area that didn't have tables before, and they just moved tables into every space they could. So spread everyone out so that they could maintain capacity. But it was the feeling. You could just feel the energy in the air, and seeing families and people and friends gathering and enjoying that time. I was like, we're back. And even yesterday I had to attend a funeral. And while some people still said they were concerned and they were wearing masks when they were close, when we got to the reception, everyone took their masks off. And I'm talking to older people scared about saying, oh, I'm scared about Corona. But you didn't ask me if I've been socially distancing, and you're sitting right next to me.
Yeah, it's a boogeyman and a monster for some people. Yeah.
Correct. It's over. I think the mental trap that we've been in is done. We've beat it. So I'll get shit for it, but
yeah, probably. I mean, I think there could be an uptick, based on what's happening. But I was just in Vegas last week, and I lost you.
Did I lose you?
Did you lose me? I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah, is that me?
So, let me see. I don't think that's me.
Yeah, kind of.
Is it me? Or am I back? Yeah, I got full bars over here. We're like, can you hear me now? And we're back.
I think StreamYard just went down.
Is that what that was?
I think so. Because
Huh.
I tried to do a refresh and it said unavailable. But
I did a refresh
We're
too,
back.
and I popped back in, and I was like, and we're back. And then I popped back out. All right. So talking about Vegas, we can edit that in the cut. For all of our live viewers, I think we just probably lost a handful of them. Sorry about that.
looks like we actually gained. When we get cut off is when we gain viewers. So
Wow, that's the most ironic, backward thing I've ever heard, but we'll go with it. But anyway, air travel was fantastic because there is nobody sitting between you on the flight. So that is something which I was wondering, like, oh man, if we could actually have a world like this. Vegas is dead though, because about 50% of their population is conferences, symposium, people that are just there for events like that, and that's not happening. But overall, yeah, it was a good time. It was hotter than hell out there, though. I mean, it was 111 degrees, just brutal. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But
it's the dry heat. That's what they always say.
The dry heat. That's not good. Your nose feels like it's about to start bleeding. Your eyebrows about to rip off. But what I saw with that and some of the other things is, it seems like all of the motions are getting back into place. I didn't look at the numbers though, based on travel. Those really haven't spiked yet. Apparently, half of hotel rooms are still empty. But I know in local economies that these things are beginning to move, especially with such a tourist base down here. Yep. So I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen. And also, and to that, right? You also have back to school, which just started. Yep. So speaking of the economy, especially from a marketing side, the back to school numbers blew away last year because of COVID. It was a plus. So people are buying home desks. They're buying laptops for their children. And then colleges too, that spending even went up like 100 to 200 more, according to the National Retail Federation. So there's like all these positives for the back to school side of things. Because I was expecting to see those numbers lower because of like school stuff. You're not going to get new kicks and whatnot. They might buy those later. But no, I think that's another positive for the economy, which is really interesting.
I hope people that did go out and buy all that stuff bought it locally. Because seriously, I mean,
well, Best Buy, they're crushing it right now. I mean,
we just locally here had a large chain called Steinmart, which, I mean, did you guys have Steinmarts down there?
We do. It's like a TJ Maxx or a Marshall's kind of deal.
Yeah. So they filed for bankruptcy because, if you don't have shoppers in the store, then they aren't, going to be making any money. And so a lot of that business went online, and it's going to continue to gut local companies. So either way. But speaking of conferences, let's go back and talk about Digital Mastermind real quick. Now that we're at where we're at, and you had to make the call 4 or 5 months ago to cancel the yearly meeting, in hindsight, are you glad you canceled it, or do you think we could actually pulled it off?
No, I'm completely happy with that decision.
Great.
Yeah. Because
we still got like another month until that would be going off, and I feel like in another month we'd probably have a lot more people starting to travel for business.
Yeah, and I think it's also the energy of it, where people are just continually asking, "Hey, are you going to cancel this? Is this still going to happen?" Dealing with speakers that are worried, so just that mental toll of just having to continually manage that is just like, all right, on to other things to take up mental real estate.
So United Airlines this week announced 19,000 employees are going to be furloughed. So
Yep.
at least they're furloughed and not fired. But this is what we've been talking about, is that, once PPP funding is up, then these companies are saying, yeah, well, we were able to keep those paychecks going, but if the demand's not there, we've got to cut, once this funding. So this might be the start of the kind of second wave of the economy hitting, unless the economy just fully opens back up. So
yeah, I doubt it will. I think there's still going to be another dip based on like what's going on with that. So I think American Airlines, they sent out a letter to like 30,000 people. Essentially, all the airlines are preparing for this. So I think there's going to be a few other dips, but I think there's going to be other prop ups that are going to work out. I mean, furlough so it's 19,000, 30,000 potentially with American or whatever that number is. I don't even know exactly. I mean, that is a whole lot of people that don't have income.
Right. They still get their benefits though,
like healthcare and stuff. But I mean, they don't have money. I mean, one of the benefits is like canned food. Sure. So yeah, I don't know what that does to the economy, but who knows? I mean, like the job openings that we talked about, they were 69% higher than last year. We talked about them based on your by the numbers. These people might find something that they've always wanted to do. There could be a percentage. I mean, it still sucks. I mean, there's a lot of people going to be looking for work, but in the end, it always works out. And I believe that this is, in 2021, it'll be a much stronger year. But these are positive signs that I wanted to share.
Sure. And tie it back to digital marketing. Think of how much more important what we do will be in 2021, because now you've got all these people working from home. You've got all these businesses trying to get that business, from people online at home. I mean, the digital landscape and what we have to do for our clients now is more important than ever.
Yeah, it's communications, and a lot of these people are going to go into the communication side of things. For instance, we saw resumes based on some businesses that filed for bankruptcy, right? So those are going to be a shifting of certain people. People are going to be stronger in other areas, but I think it's like anything else. I know I say it a lot. It's the ones that take action and the hungriest that are going to always prevail.
Correct.
So it sucks, but I think this is going to end up being a good thing in the end. And maybe airlines will quit charging for fucking luggage. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, they make a ton on that.
So I do have to share something that happened to me on the way into work today that it just put a giant smile on my face. So drove through McDonald's, picking up some breakfast, and I get up to the pay window, and the guy said, how are you doing today? I said, I'm good, and you? And he said, if I was any better, vitamins would be taking me. I was like, that is the greatest response to how are you doing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was like, stealing that. That's mine now.
Yeah, That's good. What the hell do you get from McDonald's? That didn't sound healthy at all.
Well, since I'm on keto, I can't eat the bread, so I get sausage biscuits with egg and toss the biscuit and just eat the sausage and egg.
You can order that without the biscuits, and they'll put it in a container.
Yeah, but I end up giving the biscuits to people in the office, and
really?
Yeah,
it's just like, hey, do you want the biscuits I'm not going to eat?
Yep.
Like this is used biscuit from a sausage and egg patty.
That's right.
How about the sausage and egg patty? Well, that's kind of you. But all right, so let's talk about some things that are going on with us, right? So we're in the process of, and I hope I don't jinx anything, potentially acquiring another agency, which is exciting, right?
Yep.
So this will be, a force multiplier where we're going to be adding, some skill set that we don't currently have. And then we're also on the hunt to, based on what we see in the market, we need to be more aggressive. And this is what I tell a lot of people. All right. So whatever's out there, whatever everybody else is doing, I recommend that you do the opposite in most cases, especially when it comes to business. So yeah, we're going to, if all goes well, be supplying or having a larger supply of sales staff. So we're actually bringing on another person this week, which excited to bring him on, and then potentially another one in the next couple of weeks. So I don't know, man. I'm just excited about that.
Scary but exciting, and I'm a huge advocate of going against the grain. I mean, you're not going to get extraordinary results by doing nothing extraordinary. I mean, if you go with the flow, then you're going to get the flow results. Who wants that?
So in Vegas, I was playing craps, right? And
Right.
then it was
great example.
Absolutely. You can literally just sit there and just throw the dice and bet small, and you'll go up a little, you'll go down a little, but you could just play with like $100, maybe even the entire day. Yeah. And some of the other guys I was playing with, they were going huge. Some of these people were walking away with $4,000 or $5,000. It was incredible, and I think that is a great example where I was just playing it. I don't really consider myself a gambler. I did have a good time, made like 400 and something bucks walking away with, but that is essentially the same in business, right?
Go big or go home.
Yeah, you could just sit there and you can be the mom and pop all day long, or you could be there for the reason, and that reason is you're not taking the risks necessary. And I think it's also important that, and especially in agency business, and I've been really guilty of this, you have to be careful with your risks. Meaning, you don't love risk. It's just like, all right, what are you, a psycho?
That's being dumb.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, all right, how can you take the most calculating risk with the smallest input to generate the most impact, like most things? And I believe that's what we're doing here. I think we're in a safe place, and we have some hedges, and I'm confident to say this is going to be a multiplier in the future, one way or the other.
Sure. I mean, that's what it's all about, hedging your bet. Making sure that you're not taking too much of a risk. But bringing it back to DMG, the very first Vegas DMG conference, I remember I used to wake up early before the conference started to go down there and do some gambling. And it was late one night. And
I remember you got locked out of your ATM.
What's that?
I remember you getting locked out of your ATM.
No, that was the second Vegas conference. The first one, this was like 8 years ago.
Okay.
I was on a hot streak on the craps table, and there was these like three guys at the other end putting big chips down. I made them like $80,000, and
wow, that's huge.
They came over after I was done rolling. They came over and like thanked me and all that, and I was like, no tip. If I was a girl, I'd have been getting tipped, I'm sure, from that 80,000. But I only made like $800. So, but yeah.
Oh, really? They really didn't tip you though?
No.
Usually, somebody will throw somebody a chip, like a bone in there. Yeah. Huh. And it's weird the dynamic at those tables too, where people are like, "Oh yeah, that guy over there." Just
bad luck.
Yeah.
Don't bet with him. So I love craps. You got to be able to feel the flow and go against because Vegas knows what they're doing, and they change out those dealers, and then when the dealer gets changed out, all of a sudden everybody starts crapping out, and then people start betting against, and then all so Vegas is a good lesson there, but
unlike business, the dealers are super helpful. They're like, oh, this is how you're going to do that. Like, there's so many things in the agency world and whatnot that you have to just figure out on your own, or you have to lean on your peers to figure out, because it's just not out there where somebody's going to tell you. I was amazed. What does this mean? What does this mean? They're like super helpful. Just going to walk you right through it.
Yeah, that's why having a peer group is so key to growth and learning and understanding. That's why DMG is the force multiplier.
The force multiplier. There it is again.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we got going on that we should discuss with our audience today? Oh, you know what? I got some numbers too, though. So these are some buys and numbers. I was doing a little bit of research talking about travel, right?
Okay.
Hotel half dozen days there are. Do you realize though that they, based on the figures, they consider this to be 9 times worse for the hospitality industry and travel than 9/11?
Yeah.
9/11 was horrible, right, to them. I mean, it was super devastating. This is 9 times worse. So this is by far the worst thing that we've ever, encountered as a business economy in our country's future.
9/11 was a
lifetime.
9/11 was like a, that's a, and I don't want to downplay it by any means, but it was a once in a moment issue, and then it was recovery. We're not even in recovery mode yet for this global pandemic. So, I mean, that's why it's so much more devastating. People didn't stop road trips because of 9/11. People didn't stop going out to restaurants because of 9/11. I mean, it did kill airlines for a month or so, and then people got scared. But that's completely different scope than what we're at right now. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of positives that comes out of this, which is, I think, the focus on local is going to be a big thing. Focus on community, and because we weren't able to go travel and we weren't able to, do all these things externally, everyone's been stuck in their local community, and I think it's going to be a net positive for the society.
I also think about all the businesses that they don't want to be business owners. They don't want to be entrepreneurs, and this is they're out. They've now been able to shut the doors and then walk away and quit, give up, whatever you want to say. I think there's a percentage of that. There are a ton of businesses though I've seen that closed, and on one side it's sad, but on the other it's just like, okay, this is the way that things are. And I just look at how some have been able to pivot. We have one client that found a completely new business they sell to nightclubs, and the nightclubs are closed, right? They're not doing anything there, but they've been able to pivot and then sell to dispensaries. Like that's their new market, where they're going gangbusters. They're doing big. So even with agencies, I see a lot of them that are kind of like clamming up, not knowing what to do. But then again, I see some of the others that are like us, that are being like really aggressive and going after and getting business. And I don't know. I look at that as just it's a buyer's market at that point, where it's just, okay, we're the buyer of just getting as many clients as we can, and just
because the work's not going away.
No, it's not. It's still there. Yeah.
So here's the thing that I'm looking forward to, and I know there's a lot of businesses out there struggling, and they're probably in a dark spot, and they're stressed out, all the bad things. But if you can survive and break through, you can do anything. If a global pandemic can't break you, when you come out of this, nothing's stopping you, right? I mean, that is, to me, that was like what the 2008 financial crisis taught me, is if you can survive that, you can survive anything.
I agree with that to a point, though, right? Because that's a lot. It's a lot of mental, right? But I always look at that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I'm like, bullshit, up to a point, right? So, I mean, you go into a fight with some dudes with machetes and you lose all your limbs and all that. Yeah, you might be mentally stronger, but you're not bench pressing the same amount of weight again, right? So I think it's to a point, and I think things can be have an emotional cost to them, where people just don't recover. There's like PTSD. I was talking about like they were Depression era kids. Well, they hoarded everything.
While I understand what you're saying, there's probably more than a few veterans that have lost limbs that have come back and then competed in triathlons and would say, yeah, I might not be able to bench press, but my will is 10 times stronger.
Great. Their will. That's great. But if they're going to get into a boxing match and they don't have arms, and I appreciate, what veterans and everybody else does, that's a strength that's measurable. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, well, that's not going to happen there. So I think it's what might make you stronger. All right, cool. We could go into the mental, the willpower side of things.
Got our first show comment today.
Oh, hi, Jennifer. Great to hear from you.
Hopefully she's got a really challenging, good digital agency question for us today.
Yeah. Or, hey, you guys are insulting, and stop talking about what you're talking about.
That too.
Either all comments are welcome. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that this is different for everybody, right? So it looks like an agree to disagree. Which, yeah, Dave and I have a fair amount of those. But I do want to sum this up, and then you can say, oh, this looks different for everybody, right? And I think at the end of the day, it's just you have to embrace the positive side of it. Otherwise, you're going to be on the negative side of it. So
who wants to be always
people that relish in it, though, man? You know what I mean? You ever run into those? Like, I call them puppy kickers. Like, no matter what, they just want other people to hurt. They're not going to be happy.
I hate that. Hate's a strong word. I'm living in like 2020. Again, I've said a transformational year for me. I'm not spending any time with anyone that doesn't help build me up or add value. I mean, negative people, ain't nobody got time for that going forward. Like, I am not dealing with puppy kickers, as you like to put it. It's straight up, this is, The
glass is technically, what is this? The glass is always technically full of half water and half air. That is the truth. Yeah. So
That
we
is a
will.
really technical definition of H2O in a glass.
Yeah, drinking water. But all right, so and I think that's what we're looking at from a market perspective, and not going in with any negative energy to any of the scenarios that we have to client relations or based on new relations to sell clients. And I'll tell you what, man, my box is exploding though with all of these agency building gurus. Do you just have? I'm getting like 5 to 10 a day where they just the amount of leads or the amount of leads they're promising is insane. Like there wouldn't be an agency out there that would be struggling if all of these people were able to deliver on what it is that they say they can do.
So that leads me to a topic I was going to raise for Free Talk Friday, and that is, now that we made the Inc. 5000, we are getting hit up with the most ridiculous offers, and I'm like, God, what? Like,
oh yeah.
So they're just like buying, we're on a list now. We're on a mail list. And these companies buy access to this list. And now it's like nonstop. Congratulations. Would you like to purchase this other thing now? I'm like, oh, God. I want.
So we had one instant. Oh, yeah, the 20Xs.
Oh, God.
Which is a telltale sign. Yeah.
Such a pet peeve of mine. Anyone that uses the word X.
Yeah. Xer or guru. Guru is the one that I like who. So, and I think it's kind of like the term artist when you meet somebody, right? When they call themselves an artist, that's not something you can bestow upon yourself. It's something that somebody else bestows upon. Same thing with guru. You don't feel like I'm a guru, baby. No, it doesn't work that way. Somebody else says you are my guru, and then that's not something that should be in your title. It's like doctor. You don't just proclaim that you're a doctor. No, you went to school to become a doctor. Same thing with a lawyer. So I don't know. I get into the regulation side of things. Words are really fucking important. And when people just abuse them and they just like, oh yeah, I'm a guru. It's just like, I always want to take the call where we could say like, hey, let's unpack this. But I think my lecture wouldn't be well received because that wouldn't be the intention. Yeah. But back to your point. So yeah, we got the Inc. 5000. So we have people that are claiming they want to do documentaries about us if we pay a specific fee. I see you on an email with he's like, oh yeah, we want you to be in our magazine, right? I just saw that. Yeah, we're talking about. I guess this is the sad side of the PRs. Most PR, the highest majority of it, it's all bullshit. But you can pay to play, which is also a really positive side to look at it.
It's how you want to approach it. I mean, you do have to pay to play, and and it feels dirty, but then that's business. I mean,
it is, yeah. And then now you go into you have all the your like articles that are on your wall and everything. And we even had a client; he had them all over his wall. Each one of those, there was some type of quid pro quo, pay for play type of scenario, but on the outset it looks really, really good. It's legacy buying, image building.
So that's exactly what Jennifer says is, to the consumer, to the endpoint. I mean, that's why we do it, right? That's why we submitted to Inc. 5000, because people do respect it. When we get awarded the Jacksonville Business Journal's fastest 50 growing company, people respect that. So that's why you do it. It just feels disingenuous when now your mailbox is full with these offers of being in a magazine, having a PBS documentary, and I'm like, all you did is you bought this list, and now it's this high velocity email offer, and I'm like, I get it, but I don't know.
It's a good magazine. Like Ryan Reynolds has been on the cover of it. Like it's all right. It's a good magazine. It's not a shitty magazine. So I was like, oh, that's kind of flattering. Right. You're gonna let me pay to be in your magazine. It's very kind of you. We could just bought some ads in there.
Yeah, I grew up thinking that articles were written because journalists wanted to expose the world to interesting things. And then you grow up and you're like, no, you just pay for that.
So I remember one of the first times we were dealing with a PR agency, and so it was kind of like a B-level celebrity that we did, a bunch of e-commerce based stuff for back in the day. And there was this PR agency on there. And they're like just throwing out like all these like wild ideas and all that. And I'm trying to feel like, all right, well, we track everything. So how am I going to track this? So I was like, hey, that's cool. I hear like a bunch of things that are, being thrown out. I was like, what's the overall strategy here? Dude, they hung up. Like it was click. because
Wow.
there was no strategy. And then there was I had another mentor at the time. He was in agency business, and he also had PR part of his agency. And I asked him, he said, "Oh yeah, dude." He's like, "If you ever want to just check somebody," he's like, instantly just ask, "What's the strategy?" And that's something early on. If you get agencies working with other agencies, if you want to just essentially set the ground level, like, all right, what's going on here? They're going to be, working with your client. That is the question that I always ask. Okay,
Sure.
well, what's the
And
strategy?
that exposes, like, did you put any thought into it? Why are you suggesting this? Or are you just saying it just to say it? Is this your marketing generic, box 101 that you're just pulling something out of your tired old, habits? Or did you think through, look at some data and actually evaluate the market and the brand for that client and say, this is why we think? So it's a great question to expose the generic marketing plans that we talk about all the time.
Yeah. And I think I think the main thing too is where somebody is just like, you'll get these, on calls sometimes where somebody just wants to just talk about ideas. Like, okay,
Sure.
this feels good. I always try to bring that. Okay, well, what's the strategy here? Like, if we can put that into like a statement or some type of kernel, now we can move forward. Otherwise, this is just like mental masturbation. All right, cool. Let's just go ahead and do this. And then that's all right. That's all we're going to do. It's not going to get us anywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, or it might get results, but just half-assed results, or just, not anything that's going to make a truly significant impact. And I'm not in the business to just push the needle one notch, right?
Nah. Well, you get fired doing that.
Yeah. I want results that make the customer, like some of the responses we got. One of our clients, we posted on our social media, talked about how they don't think they would have been able to survive this year without us. That's the feedback I want to hear.
Yeah.
I want to do big things. And that just made me feel so good to hear that.
Yeah, and they left a clutch review saying that too. So that's third party, that didn't have any. It's not like a typical Google review. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a good topic right there. Talk about Clutch. It's kind of a new service, and
it's kind of It's funny. So there's a few of them, right? So there's Clutch. There's I know there's Design Rush that our buddy Gabe set up. But anyway, these are the directories have always been around, but they're getting a lot more clout. They're getting a lot more exposure because they're owning more real estate online, because just for the keywords that they rank for, and people are beginning to use these as the reference tool to find agencies that they want to work with. So if you're an agency, it behooves you to get reviews on there, and they're pretty strict about their reviews. Under a certain amount, you essentially if you're the client, you tell your client they're going to log in through their LinkedIn account, because there's a verification process there. But if it's over a certain amount, they're literally going to call and speak to your client to vet what it is that they're saying.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not some BS thing where you're going to hire, some low-level person making $2 an hour in some, sweatshop with computers to just write all these like fake reviews.
Right.
This is like real legit stuff, which I love, because if you want to play in that realm with, bigger accounts, smarter, more sophisticated people that aren't going to beat you up on the budgets because they actually have a genuine give a damn trait about them, then that's the world. And I love tools like Clutch. So my hat's off to them, and they're owning this space. I know they've acquired some other companies, but they've done a great job, and it's super expensive to advertise on there though.
Yeah. But the people are sharp. I love the thoroughness, and I love that you can't game it.
Actually, I want to take one thing back. The advertising is a bit ridiculous on Clutch. If you go to let's say you look web designer, I think it's like a whole damn page of ads before you get to the people, where it's like sponsored, which is a bit ridiculous. And I don't know if they'll take the Google approach where they're like, all right, maybe we only need like 3 or 4 of these. I think that would add a little bit more genuine delivery in their product. Right. But either way, I do like a third-party credentialing tool that we could flip over to a client and say like, all right, cool. Hey, these are the references. We're not bullshitting.
You know how I used it today is, you were talking earlier about we might be adding this salesperson, and he said, what kind of clients do you guys work with? What kind of scopes and what kind of things. I was like, actually, why don't you just go read the 28 clutch reviews we have that are in-depth interviews with all of our clients, and tells you the size of the project, how much did it cost, how long did it take, what did we do. Like, that is the best way to say, this is what we do.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
It's the results. Here's the results we produce.
Which brings up a good point. Like, how much stuff out there have we already created or done somewhere that we don't have a collective to be efficient in delivering that to new people? Like, that's a great point. Here, just go ahead and look at this. Whereas somebody else is like, all right, these are the types of clients that we're working with, and it's like, why didn't I
take my word for it? Here you go.
Right. So. And there's the other. So yeah, Design Rush. I know that one's good. That's a competing product, but yeah, I'd say at a minimum, everybody should, like your Google My Business and all of the other usual suspects, make sure that you have a clutch account. Which brings up another point too. Another great sales tool when you're about to close somebody and you can't is to tee up another client and do a quick call with them where you can call on the phone or bring them into a Zoom meeting to do a live referral. We just did that the other day. And I've done it in the past via phone. I haven't done it via Zoom, but we did it via Zoom meeting, and it went fantastic. I love those sales tricks or it's not like you're tricking somebody, but it's just this is experience that teaches, that needs to be taught, that works really well because the prospect was like, okay, I've heard everything that I got to hear. All right, let's move forward.
So, and that leads me to the reason why I love doing what we're doing is we're building a business the right way for the right reasons, and treating our customers right. When you hear it from another client, if it differentiates the client from a price only client to something more like a partner or a quality, because if they just want price, they don't care what somebody else says.
No.
Or what another, they just want to know, does it get done for the cheapest price? Okay, that's it. But when they are looking to partner with someone that's going to get in the trenches with them, get their hands dirty, they want to know, is this the kind of company I want to work with? Are they going to be there when I have an emergency? Do they have my back? And that's why that process you just mentioned works so well, because it really humanizes the business.
Yeah, and the people that are just the price shoppers, this goes, don't work with those people. They're literally they're vampires. They're going to suck your blood. Yeah, they're going to steal everything about you. There's maybe some long lesson that can be taught, and when those people come in, it's instantly the asshole tax. Now we're going to charge them 10 times the amount because we want them to go away, because there's being kind, nice, and cool in life is a very important thing, because it makes this place better. It makes business fantastic. But yeah, anytime we get the price shoppers, it's not going to work out, and I try to filter them out immediately.
Let's do this publicly right now. Let's make an Oyova rule that we never charge an asshole tax, and we just don't work with those people.
Yeah, because sometimes they sign up for the asshole tax. Yeah. All right. Well, all right, we're just not going to work with those people. Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think it was maybe a week or two. It was essentially it just came down to the person hated the other companies that they've worked with. So that's a tall tale sign, right? So okay, there's this track record, this history that's never worked out, and maybe they're the exception. I don't know, maybe then screwed. But then we got down to how much things cost, and they were just saying this, I think this should cost this, and we got into it and understanding there's people that actually have jobs that own cars and houses that work here. What do you think this is? Just drive through creative where you just come through and we're going to flip some burgers and then your technology is going to work. So yeah, we decided not to work together. And I know that they're going to go somewhere, and 99% of the time they're going to be unhappy. And it sucks. That hurts for me, because I want to convince them and let them know no, you can come here. But no, you literally do not have the budget to play in the game that you want to play in. And that's unfortunate.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. So, it's just, again, going back to the 2020 theme and everything. It's, work locally, buy locally, work with someone that you can work with. I mean, I want to be a partner. I want to build your business for a reason. I don't just want your money. So
Talk about partnerships, because I think that's important. People don't realize what to look for and what that actually means. I've been in clients' weddings. I mean, that might be a bit of an extension, of being partnerships, but I think it's important to just realize what the values are on both sides. They
Yeah.
understand how you make money. You better understand how they make money, right? Because it's a big component of what you're doing, whether it's marketing or technology, and just
Yep.
really having clear expectations and understanding of the other person, just genuinely caring about all outcomes.
Yeah, it's a good way to be in life.
Yeah.
Period. Not just business. Just be invested.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm getting some trees trimmed, and I'm not going necessarily with so I'll just paint the story. So this is just like a scenario of, one, how to sell me, and two, how to take the time necessary. First guy comes out, and literally it's like a 5-minute thing. Just looks at the trees or whatever. All right, cool. Boom. Sends the price over. Didn't really, take the time to go around the trees, explain anything, talk about
sell you on other things.
Absolutely. The other person that comes out, takes his time, right? So gets a laser pointer. He comes up to the trees, hits it with a soft mallet. You could tell he loves the trees. Okay, that completely sells my wife. I think it was the mallet, maybe a little bit of tree hugging. My wife's a bit of a tree hugger, maybe a soft hug. Wasn't a full hug. And then there's these other guys who I hear are the best. These guys have a referral, and they call. They're a month out, right? So I was okay, you guys are the best. I'm gonna wait a month. No call, no show. All right, cool. Guess what? You don't get the fucking business. All right, I'm going with tree hugger. That's how it worked. The first guy sucked. The last one, didn't, call. And I'm not saying you always have to get 3 quotes. If I went with the first guy and he did the whole tree hugging, I might have went with him. But I love the perspective of what 3 quotes provides, especially when it's a really good sales process. I can't even remember the guy's name, but in any event, we'll call him tree hugger. Yeah.
So a strategy I love to use when doing anything with contractors, home renovations, anything, is that I call them over to give me a quote on a small project. And it's the small project's probably irrelevant to the thing I really want done. And if they quote the small irrelevant thing fairly, I then say, okay, now this is really what I want done. Because now I know you're not trying to bullshit me. So, I mean, I did that with my pavers. And, the guy came over and I said, hey, it's just a little 10 by 10. Just want to do a little quick pavers. And he's like, all right, this is that price. And I was like, all right, cool. That sounds like a good price. You want to come over and we can discuss the project. So he comes over and I start showing him what I really want done. And it's elaborate. It's 4 times the size. It's got walls. It's, you've seen it, my pavers. And he's got this look on his face. He's like, this is way. I was like, I know, forget about that. Give me the quote for this now. I know and I told him, I go, you quoted that 10 by 10 fair. I knew you weren't going to rip me off. Now I trust you with the full price of this full scope project. And great experience.
I like that.
Great price.
Yeah.
And
I would have done that with my trees. You probably would have thought I was a psycho. He's like, well, why are we just cutting this one? He's like, it's like, no, I like those trees, pal. I just want 1 tree cut. Well, what if the project's too small for them to take?
Well, then, do you want to work with a client that treats small projects differently than their normal projects?
Yeah, because I'm like that. There's things I'm like, there's no way that we can take that. That's entirely too small. That doesn't make any sense. I still like the thing where it's all right, yeah,
we take small projects all the time.
We'll give it.
I mean, you might not like them because your commission's tiny, but we do small projects all the time. We treat them just like everything else. So
there's some that are entirely too small. It just that don't make sense. I get for business where it just makes sense to bring them on.
Sure.
So I don't know. Oh, you just got some support there.
Boom. Love that.
Just do that too with a contractor. Yeah, I guess that's my only that would be my only concern with that. But I like that approach. Yeah.
I just think it just sets the tone and says, hey, we're going to establish some trust here before we even worry about anything else.
Yeah. Or dip your toe in the water with a small project. I love that in a sales scenario where I'm like, give me something small that, we can work on. Because the other thing too is there's a setup when you're going to pull on a new client. There's the whole setup that's involved, right? So what I mean too small is if somebody needs 1 hour to do something, and we're never going to hear from them again. That to me is too small of a client. I'm not going to waste anybody's time with that. That doesn't make any sense. So, but if it's just like, all right, hey, we need a couple like website, we need a couple updates on a landing page. Like, okay, let's go ahead and pull that in because I believe there's a lifetime value of us, doing. Because I've been on calls where people have said, like, oh, this is the only thing I'm going to need, so you're probably not going to see anything from us in the future again. And I like that they're setting that expectation. And I'll also deliver. And I'm saying like, well, I really don't want to work with you then because this really, there's nothing in value for this. I'm not going to make anything on this first one.
There's tons of companies that fit you better that probably outsource and you're probably looking for the lowest price.
Yeah. And it's, what the hell?
Yeah, new rule, asshole tax. We're not working with them.
I got that from a photographer, man. A guy that used to do like a ton of fashion photography when I first started out. I was like, oh, this guy's really hard to work with. I don't know how to quote him. He's like, asshole tax.
Oh, yeah.
Just go ahead and, 10 times over. He's like, that's good. And we won a project with that. And it was brutal, but it was a ton of money, so it was worth it, I think, to some point until they shipped us a check. This is great. They shipped us a check, like, yeah, go ahead and start work. And he sends me the tracking number. I'm like, oh, cool, it's on the way. And later that day, I just went ahead and just checked it again. I was like, oh, when is it going to arrive? Because, we just started out, we needed money. That fucker reverted it back to go back to him. Like, that was his move. So we would do these things. Like, just terrible. So anyway, rule of thumb there, asshole tax, if you're going to charge it, it's probably somebody you shouldn't be working with in the first place.
Absolutely. Just makes your job a job. I don't want to hate my job. So,
and I think it's funny. I was speaking with somebody about this the other day of how to not make your job a job, and it's the most counterintuitive thing I believe is routines. If you have routines, the days that you're going to do things, the times a day that you're going to do things, you can really embrace what it is that you're doing and not have the willpower or the fight necessary to get over the hump so you actually do your work.
Yeah, I say it all the time, patterns. Establish your patterns and do good work and refine and get better and get more efficient. So funny we bring this topic up because one of our account managers, so we've had a client, long-time client. It's the client that built Oyova. They sold this past year, and the acquiring company started a relationship with us. The acquiring company is just so leaps and bounds lower class than the company that we were working with. So I already knew that this wasn't going to be a long-term relationship, but they needed the support, and so we had a relationship. 3 months into it, they're already breaking their contract, and then they kind of just tax. Yeah, well, they just kind of disappeared on us. So we're issuing invoices that I know aren't going to get paid, and so I just authorized our administrative assistant. I said, look, just inform them that we are discontinuing the relationship because I don't want them coming back going, hey, we need you now. And so I just said, no, we're discontinuing the relationship. So, and I love the processes that Oyova is working on right now. So the account manager goes through the process of adding an amendment to our process document and alerts me and adds a template email that we send to customers when we're notifying them that we're no longer going to work for you. So then I wrote a whole new section in our process document about how to go through the steps of verifying the contract, make sure that the language is in, exit language is correct. And if you need to inform them that we're pulling out, here's the email template. And I was like, God damn, these processes are working really well. And just how the team is working the processes, even on something negative that's like informing a client, we're not working with you anymore. We're just, it was such a positive thing of how you could see the business working and not, there was no grinding of gears. It just happened. And I was like, wow, this is great.
So is it more liberating the process or actually firing the client?
Both. It was like it was a 2Xer.
Oh, it was a 2Xer. Yeah,
it was good. The firing of the client, it was like, again, we saw this coming a mile away. But now if they come back and say, hey, we need help, look, we'll still work with them because, we don't burn bridges and we don't hold grudges. But their hourly rates reset.
Oh, so it was a reset. It wasn't a true firing of the client.
Well, I mean, as of right now, we informed them we are no longer working with them.
Okay, there's a firing of the client. All right, yeah. We're no longer working with them.
I'm just saying, in a year, if they came back, I would entertain working with them again. If I would ask for money up front and a decent retainer.
Yeah, it's just I'm, and knock on wood, I've never been like fired like that. So as
keep in mind, it wasn't.
I wonder what that's on the receiving end, because I've fired clients. They're like, no, you've lied to us. You haven't done this. You've treated our people bad. We're not going to tolerate that. Which I think is important. You have to stand up for your team.
So that's the key here, is that they weren't bad to work with. They weren't bad people. They were just, my guess is that Corona hit them probably pretty hard, and then they just kind of disappeared on us. But I mean, we tried for 3 months to say, like, what's going on, guys? And so we're like, all right, I hate generating invoices I know won't get paid. It tells you, I'm a big numbers guy. And when I'm looking at forecasts and I'm looking at things, that revenue projection is fake, because that invoice is getting generated and I know it's not getting paid.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be like, "What? You haven't done any work in 3 months." And I'm like, yeah, because you didn't respond. And so we're just proactively, all right, look, we're not, the assumption is gone.
Because an account management thing that we used to do is with like 3 meetings, right, for work. Let's say that somebody's on an hourly retainer. So somebody's on the hourly retainer, and then there's the work plan that you're going to do. And I noticed some accounts where they wouldn't show up to meetings and things of that nature. So what we would do is like, all right, hey, these are the items that we were going to go over in the meeting. These are the decisions that were going to be made. We can make sure that on the next meeting, we'll go over those items. So then we would have the next meeting. Let's say that they don't show up again. Then we would send a follow-up email. Hey, these are the things we were going to decide on during this meeting. These are the things we're now going to move forward. We're making the decision best on your behalf. And we would go. And what that taught me was, then we could literally just do whatever it is that we wanted to do as long as we were successful. So we removed the amount of meetings and the amount of time that we would have with specific clients. But there was a flip side to that. So we had a bunch of accounts were doing great, numbers were awesome. Somebody else would come on board and we would instantly get fired because they didn't see the value in what we're doing. They weren't reading the report. So meetings are really important, but I do implore people to follow that, like, especially when it comes to the marketing services side. If they're not going to meet them, go ahead and make the decisions anyway to move forward. Do not let the account hold you up, because you're going to lose either way. It's just, when do you want to lose?
Doing nothing is a plan to fail.
Exactly. Yep, absolutely. So just take the actions and just, all right, these are the things that we're going to do.
And if they bitch and complain, then you just say, look, we were doing the best on your behalf based on what we know.
At multiple conversations like that, we would send out the emails, and some people absolutely loved it because, we had some clients for, 10 years, because like, I don't have to do anything. Like, I know you guys have my best interest, and I hate my business. I hate, meetings. I hate it all. I just like the money they get from them. There's some really crappy businesses out there. They don't do crappy work. They just don't like the business they got into. Right. And that is a great way to just deliver work and build a ton of integrity. And when you ask those people for a referral, they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Because I give them X number, per month, and they do what they say they're going to do. And
when we come around and ask, like, hey, our rate's going up, they're like, all right.
Yep, absolutely. No yep, on to the next one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So I know we're coming up at time here. We started a little bit late today. This has been a joyous Free Talk Friday. Before we close the floor, is there anything that you would like to add? That seemed like a quasi-confident smirk. Like,
No, I was just wondering if you were going to bring up your.
No, I decided not to. I'm going to come armed with it next week, though.
No, yeah. I'm just saying. So it's hard to explain, and I've been thinking a lot about it. I have
you too, Jennifer. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
Let me bring that up on the screen real quick. Boom. No, my mental state is changing, and I love it. I just feel so optimistic. I feel so in tune. I don't know. Maybe it's having a new baby. It's just like, man,
yoga or something.
I've lost 30 pounds on keto. Like
that's insane. Like, dude, that's huge. Like, I mean, that's a huge deal. Your brain is working better now.
Yeah, I feel just great, but I feel great for our community. I feel great for our business. I love our employees. Like there's it is just such a good. This is peak. Like this is peak, and it feels good. And I just hope that. And I'm going to try to spread it as much as possible. I already told you I'm shopping local. I'm pushing as much as I can locally, and it just feels good. And I really like the optimism I'm feeling, and it just I see it. And even there's a lot of negative shit on the news that could be suppressing that. There's riots, and like again, I feel lucky that I live in a mostly conservative city, so I don't have to deal with my city burning down. There's like
but let's take the media though, real quick.
Sure.
How many people were asking you? I know I do a lot more calls with people around the country than you do. We're saying, are things as bad in Florida as they say they are? Like, because the media
just talking about Corona.
They were just talking about Corona. That's what I'm saying. So when we see like a protest, it could be restricted to just like a block or two, but it looks like the whole town is on fire. Outside of fucking Portland, because apparently one of our employees just moved back from Portland and the whole city was on fire. So
I still am thankful. All
right, fair enough. Yeah, I agree.
It's just about being thankful for what you got.
Gratitude.
And just working hard to make it better. Every day. Be better.
Yep, better than you were the day before. I agree, and I think those are some good closes to just be grateful for what you got and enjoy the work. I mean, last week I took 2 days off because I was beat down and worn out, and I thought about it. I was like, all right, well, why was I so beat down and worn out? And it was like, because I was giving too much of a fuck. I really was. I was caring about the outcome of things, and that's one of my sayings. Like, don't get attached to the outcome. Just do the things necessary, and the outcome usually comes. And I had to do like just a quick reset. And granted, it was kind of crazy. It was over, craps and whatnot, and some drinks. But whatever it is, to just get away and unplug, where I could look at that, like, all right, that's what I need to do.
So what you just described is what I think a lot of people are dealing with right now: is the inability to disconnect from your day-to-day job, because we're working at home, because we're weekending at home, because for the last 4 or 5 months you haven't been able to go out and go to restaurants or bars or anything like that. That's been wearing people down. And so what you needed was just to disconnect.
Distance.
Yeah. And completely refresh your person and come back to work, recharge. And a lot of people have been suffering with that. I was talking to some of our employees last week that the inability to disconnect from that job was, killing them. And being stuck at home. So you need to be able to get out of the house and go do things so that you can reset and get ready for the next week.
Yeah, and I think it's the distance in recovery, right? So like writing, right? I got to write a lot. So in writing something, you do your first draft and you're like, all right, you can't get it any better. It just sucks. Well, you need some distance. You need some time away from that to come back to it so you can look at it differently with fresh eyes. And I think the same thing goes for your work.
Yeah. So she didn't leave yet. She's still there.
All right. You're not always, that's a good quote. You're not always on because your computer is there. Yeah, right. I agree. So yeah, you got to literally unplug that thing.
I mean, when I drive, my phone gets put away. Like I see other drivers looking at their phone while they're driving all the time. And I'm not even talking from a safety perspective, but be present in the moment. Drive, you're driving or you're listening, on the weekend. Like, don't let your phone dominate you. And if it buzzes, like, I'm firm supporter of, if it's an emergency, you better call me. It better ring. Doot is not going to get me to stop my weekend. So I agree with that. I also think at the same time, if you're taking an hour drive, just listen to some tunes, though, you need to check in with your office from time to time. At a stoplight, you better. I mean, it's one of those things. Because I would hate to hear yeah, absolutely. At a stoplight, just check in, make sure. Like, all right, is there any messages or anything you got to take care of that you could solve with the phone call, right? Because sometimes I got to drive an hour to 2 hours, and if I had, if one of my subordinates was like, "Oh, dude, I was driving, bro," like, I mean, I don't like, yeah, well, pick up your phone and use the best time necessary to get the work done. It doesn't have to be just in a written form. If it's during business hours, I completely agree. I'm talking
that's what I'm talking about.
Saturday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, Saturday, no, absolutely, yeah.
No,
phone calls are fine for emergencies.
Yeah. Right.
Don't send me a text to tell me my house is on fire, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah, call me. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, I think today's been a great show. Everybody that's tuned in, thank you so much for listening. Beth, gin shots. I'm more of a tequila guy, but thank you so much. And everybody, this is brought to you by the Digital Mastermind, a group of digital agencies, some of the best agencies in the country that get together to collaborate, help each other. It's a peer group. So if you want to get involved, go ahead and shoot me an email, Jon, Jon at digitalmastermind.com. Visit us online at digitalmastermind.com. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye now.